A lot of my questions are going to build upon what Senator Kane said. But first, Mr. Fiesta, you pointed out that there is a lot of money stranded in retirement accounts. We attempted to address that. It's a great point. And we attempted to address that in Secure 2.0, and I whispered to my staff that we need to make sure that that actually is implementable. The Biden administration rules apparently open businesses up to lawsuits. That ain't going to work. So anyway, just to say, I thank you for raising that point. Mr. Copland, I just want to build on this. What is the power of allowing an 18-year-old to begin to save? I mean, in terms of the return on savings for retirement.
Yeah, it's really just the power of compound investing, right? I mean, when you save early, that investment grows, and then you're earning on those earnings. And it's why I always tell, my young Manhattan Institute colleagues, do it early. If you wait till you're in your 50s like me, you're going to have a hard time catching up. And we let people vote at 18. We let them join the military at 18. It seems like the right cutoff to me. And so I really think it's something that ought to get broad bipartisan support to say, if you're 18 and you're working, you can do this, particularly because a lot of these folks are folks that aren't going to college. So, this is part of that opportunity cost trade-off. And if they're going to go straight into the workforce, they ought to be able to save for retirement.
I think it's consistent with what we've been doing. Moody and Kane and Cassidy have been interested in how do you get people who don't want to go to college the training in high school by which they could begin to work upon graduation from high school. Why aren't you including them in the 401k? That's consistent with other policies that we're doing. Mr. Williams, why would someone choose not to save?
There can be a variety of reasons, including financial emergencies. Typically, they're financial shocks, but they're usually transitory in nature. They might need a new car, something breaks down, need to do a house remodel, and they aren't always an emergency. I had, for example, a couple clients that were welcoming a new baby, and they needed to get the room ready, and so they just needed a quick break to be able to get that room ready.
So the auto-enrollment, the renewed auto-enrollment, for those who have the new baby, maybe Irish twins, they have 2 new babies, but then they would be 2 Irish guys up here. So, so then this would be tailored for them. Oh, now we got to start thinking about retirement again.
Absolutely.
Now, can you review, because there's actually academic data that shows that if you have auto-enrollment, the increase in people who participate in retirement. Mr. Copland, will you talk about that?
Yeah, I mean, this is the sort of nudge that folks like law professor Cass Sunstein, who's worked in Democrat administrations, and economist Richard Thaler wrote about in their book. And I don't agree with every application that they elucidate, but this is sort of pretty much an obvious one, right? I mean, every year. I'm in the process now. I've got to figure out what I want to do with my FSAs. We get healthcare and re-enrollments, et cetera. If you just had this every year, there's a lot of inertia that sweeps in there.
But don't I know, there's the uptick, 49% more people will enroll. There's some study out there. Do I remember that correctly? Is that a real number, or am I imagining that?
We can get back to you on the official figures. Sure.
Yeah, but it's significant. It's a lot. Auto-enroll really helps.
It's a huge uptick, and we'd have to see it work in practice, but I think it could be one of the more significant things out there in terms of defined contribution plans.
Now let me ask, because Senator Sanders has talked about the defined benefit versus the defined contribution, and there are advantages to defined benefit, one of which is the lifetime income products. What can Congress do to increase access to lifetime income products? If you will, importing the best of the DB system into the DC system, which has more flexibility.
Question for me. So Chairman, it's an important issue, and we want to acknowledge the concern behind it for expanding access to these products. And as a financial planning practitioner, I want additional tools, including lifetime income products, to be able to offer within workplace plans. But ultimately, we want to empower plan sponsors to be the deciding factor and make those choices on what they believe is best for their employees.
Okay. Mr. Fiesta, do you want to respond to that?
Yes. Again, it goes to whether or not you have enough to save, and compounding is important, but are those funds going to stay in retirement funds until retirement? In other words, we've seen people taking out retirement funds early, and you lose the compounding, you lose money at retirement.
I'll point out that sometimes after Hurricane Katrina, for example, we allow people to withdraw and then repay without penalty. So just as a state, coming from a state in Florida that supposed a good state to retire in, that, you know, you can't have natural disasters which have a negative impact. So we also have to have that flexibility. And I would suggest that in the case of something like a natural disaster, we would allow, that may be Senate Finance, but that we would allow to pull out and put back in without penalty. But anyway, Senator Hickenlooper.